All right, you know who my next guest is, the head coach and owner of Vision Quest Muay Thai in Newport, Maine. And of course, it is Primo Bellarosa back on the show. Primo, how's it going, man?
I'm good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good. And I appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your day because I understand right about now is when you get to the tree stand to hunt some deer. How has that been thus far?
It's hunting season. It's hunting, not shopping. That's for sure. So I've been skunked so far, other than a couple of coyotes, but only one of us gets to kill deer on my land, and it's got to be me. So
there you go. Have you seen anything big yet, or just missed a couple?
No, nothing big. I've seen one deer, unfortunately, and it was its tail end because it was getting chased by a coyote. But the coyote will not be chasing another deer.
Good man. Yeah, those things are nasty. Like, my dad always used to get as many coyotes as he possibly could.
Yeah, they're horrible creatures.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's unpack NEF 45. A lot to get to, man. First of all, what a night! What I mean, so many great fights, and just the energy at the Aura was amazing. Let's start with the main event. Obviously, Josh Harvey beats Egglindo Brandow, and he looked fantastic inside of the cage, man. He really looked like he went in there and did whatever he wanted to against Brandow. Your overall assessment of his performance inside of the cage that night?
I thought it was excellent. Josh and I in the past, I mean, Josh has won, the majority of his fights, one loss, one draw. So, it's hard to argue when you're winning. But the other thing about that is my job as a coach is to make sure that we're not only winning, but we're improving. My other job is to make sure that we're communicating while the fight is going on. I mean, I can't always just be pulling puppet strings when a fighter's fighting, but the fighter needs to be able to hear his corner and hear the things that his corner's saying to look out for, and hear the things that his corner's saying to try and do. And that happened in this fight better than it's happened in any other fight in the past. So I was really pleased with that. If you can think about the fight, at one point, Aguilera, Josh threw a kick. Aguilera tried to suck it up and get a takedown. Josh put him in a front headlock. Now, Josh is a stud wrestler. Typically, his go-to from that point, from a front headlock, is going to be to snap somebody down and get to work on the ground. Once he locked up that front headlock standing, I had said to Josh, stay standing, throw some knees. And Josh pushed him up against the cage, threw some knees, which inevitably ended up with the fight going to the ground. Aguilera tried to pull guard, I believe, right there. It was right in front of us. From there was a little bit of exchange. Josh looking for a good position. I would have liked to have had him press Aguilera up against the cage, put his head against the cage. We spoke afterwards. Josh said that he heard me say that, but couldn't figure out how to get him pushed up against the cage and not endanger himself. Aguilera is obviously, high-level jiu-jitsu player. And Josh didn't feel comfortable just shoving him around on the mat, which is totally fair. From there, a couple punches, a little bit of an exchange going on. Aguilera, I think, spun for an arm bar. There was a little bit of a scramble where Josh took his back. Now, again, standard Josh, what he would like to do is spin to the back and spin to behind and immediately take the back. I've been working with Josh as far as spinning behind and maintaining that position. When he spun, he immediately tried to put a hook in, and I said, settle in. And he actually let the attempt on that hook go and settled back behind him. And that was good. That was the end of the fight right there. Once he settled back behind, landed a couple punches, from behind, Aguilera flipped over. That's going to be the end of the fight. So I was pleased with his performance. I was more pleased with how well he listened and implemented the things that we've been trying to work on to improve his overall game.
Now, with a fighter like Josh, someone that's as seasoned as he is, that's been around the sport as long as he has, I mean, it's almost 2 years to the day he fought last against the Vikings. So he's been away for a while. Did you notice any type of nerves, or was he a little different leading up to the fight? I mean, with someone like him, does that even happen at this stage of his career?
I think everybody, every fighter, every coach feels nerves. If you don't, you're lying to yourself or you're a sociopath. And Josh feels it just like everybody else, especially with a layoff, especially, he's got a good record. He's looking to make moves into bigger shows. So as that goes on, the pressure builds, obviously. One little mistake can cost getting into a big show on the next phone call, and I truly believe that Josh is, the very next phone call we get could be for a big show. So he's feeling that. That being said, he's a professional, he's experienced, and he knows how to deal with that. You kind of push it aside. You act happy. We run a pretty laid back locker room as far as, my team fighting with, we like to joke. I've got things pretty figured out as far as, okay, we got to wrap some hands. We got to get some guys warmed up. We got to do some things. I'm pretty good at laying out the plan for that. And all the boys are pretty good at following it. So it kind of relieves a little bit of that angst that guys might have. So, he felt some pressure, but I think he dealt with it pretty well.
Yeah, well, he looked fantastic inside of the cage. One thing that I wanted to ask you that, I've heard some people talk about, and, maybe they're Josh's detractors or people that might not be in his corner like you. But one thing that I have heard is they want to see him fight against people that have records similar to his. Granted, he fought Joe Giannetti, who was on The Ultimate Fighter, who's a very, very good fighter. So he has tested himself, and a lot of people felt like he should have won that fight. But in a fight like this, when you're fighting Brandow, who's 9-8 as a mixed martial artist, he hasn't fought since 2013, and he's 0-5 in his boxing matches. He's been knocked out, I think, in the first round in all 5 of them. Is this a case where you just want to kind of get him back into the cage, get his feet wet before you take that next step? Because you mentioned him taking that next step to the next level, whatever that is. Was that your thought process for this matchup in this fight?
Well, number of things to unpack there in what you said. For starters, 9-8, that's nearly double the amount of experience that Josh has. Okay. So we jump up in fighting somebody with double the amount of experience. I think he's a legit brown belt, potentially a black belt. I can't remember. I did a bunch of research on the guy at the beginning when we got his name, and then I forget about that stuff and we start training. So legitimate brown belt, submitted some really good fighters, possibly a black belt. So I believe that's a step up right there. The other thing is, as far as his record 9-8, almost all his losses are coming in boxing. Not that 9-8 record that's listed includes some boxing. His losses predominantly come in boxing. So then we get to, he hasn't fought in a few years. Neither's Josh. I looked at this fight as, we've talked about this before. When you got a fighter, you need to, it's calculated risks that you're taking. It's not just, oh, this guy's really tough and we should fight him, or this guy's really tough and we shouldn't fight him. It's, this guy's really good on the ground, but I think he wants to stand up. That's a good test for us. We had originally thought, because of all the boxing that he's been doing in recent years, when people say that he hasn't fought in a few years, that's not true. He's fought boxing recently. I had initially thought, okay, great. This will be a guy that wants to come in and stand with Josh. And that gives us a chance to work on Josh's stand-up, right? He didn't want to do that. Josh came across the cage, threw a kick for a strike, and he was immediately shooting for the ground. At that point, fights play out how they play out. So, I'm looking, on the one hand, 2-year layoff. I'm not looking to fight, the top contender after a 2-year layoff. I'm not looking to fight somebody that has been fighting consistently in the last 2 years. As a coach, I'm looking to fight somebody that is a good fight for us after a 2-year layoff. The other thing is, as a coach, I'm looking to give my fighters an opportunity to work on the things that they need to work on. I was really hoping that this would be an opportunity to get some stand-up minutes in. And it just, it didn't play out that way. Predominantly, it didn't play out that way because our opponent didn't want to play it that way. So.
All right. Well, at the end of the day, Josh got a big win in the first round. Now, obviously, a topic that I have to address with you. He's taken a lot of heat for missing weight by as much as he did. 10.6 pounds. That's a significant amount, especially for a title fight. This was obviously supposed to be for his featherweight title. Turned out being a lightweight bout. What's the reasoning? I imagine that's got to be frustrating for you too as a coach. Just run me through what happened, and is this something where moving forward we might not see Josh at 145 anymore? We're going to see him at lightweight.
Yeah, this is really tough, and it's people know Josh's a big kid, and he's getting older, and it gets harder and harder to cut. It's something that Josh and I need to talk about. Since the fight, we haven't had the opportunity to talk about this. I will say that for his weight cut, I unfortunately had other obligations. I wasn't able to help him in his weight cut, and this is the way it turned out. You obviously, as a coach and as a fighter, don't want it to go like that. Josh did lose a significant amount of weight. We did, sign for this fight 2 weeks before the show. He was in camp wanting to fight, but the fight itself didn't come to us until 2 weeks before. That was, Matt Peterson was struggling and trying like crazy to find us a fight, and this was the fight that he was able to find us. And again, I'll be honest, 2 weeks out from the fight, I think we kind of made a mistake and figured that the fight would probably be a little bit heavier, just because it was such short notice. And what we were offered was this guy at 145. So that's what we accepted and tried. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to talk to Josh since the fight. Once a guy weighs in, as far as I'm concerned, there is zero reason to talk about the weigh-in. At that point, all you can do is just go, okay, here's where we're at. Now it's time to focus on the fight, because all you can do is detract from your fighter's attention. And the task at hand after the weigh-in is be ready to fight. I'm also a believer that after a fight, I don't say anything negative to a fighter after a fight, whether they win or lose. I keep it positive. That's not the time. If they lost or if they won, they're certainly not in any mindset to talk about anything negative. So I haven't talked to Josh about his weigh-in issues. Like I said, I wasn't there for it. This week we'll be sitting down and we'll have a serious coach fighter talk and decide what's the best route for the future.
Yeah. So were you surprised though? I mean, at 10.6 pounds, because that's a significant amount of weight. And that's the one thing that I heard a lot of people saying is that, maybe if he came in, a couple pounds overweight, that would be one thing. But a lot of people were saying, geez, did he even try? I mean, to come in 10.6 pounds over for a title fight, your title, that's just surprising. I mean, I was shocked when I first heard about it, because I actually saw him. Yeah.
As was I. Like I said, I wasn't with him, unfortunately, during the weight cut, and I wasn't with him at the weigh-ins. I was shocked as well. If I was another coach, I would probably say the same thing. Did he even try? He was 10.5 pounds over. I can say, as his coach in the lead up, he definitely lost a lot of weight.
Okay. Can you give me like a ballpark as what he walks around at? Because I know he's always been kind of bullish with how big he actually gets. I mean, he's a big dude. Is he upwards of like 190?
He can be for sure. I can say right now, when Matt had messaged me, we were in class. Classes had just gotten over with. Matt messaged me, said, hey, I have a fight for Josh. It'll be at 145, title fight, blah, blah, blah. I said to Josh right then, Josh, get your clothes off, get on the scale. He got on the scale, he was 174 pounds. That was 2 weeks out. Okay. So at his weigh-in weight of 155 roughly, he lost roughly 20 pounds to get to there in 2 weeks.
One last question about Josh before we move on. And I know this is a difficult question, but with missing weight of 10.6 pounds here being for the title fight. Do you feel like at this point, with him missing weight a couple of times now, should the NEF strip him of the featherweight title and just have it up for grabs?
Geez, I don't know, to be honest with you. I hadn't even thought about it like that. I've been asked, you know what I mean? Josh missed weight. I had people messaging me, you know, that don't know the fight game. So is this still for the title? You know, questions like that. And I said, it's definitely not for the title. Sometimes it means Josh can't win the title and the other guy could win the title if he fights and wins. Sometimes it means it's no longer a title fight, blah, blah, blah. So I really only kind of thought about it in those terms. You bringing it up as far as, you know, missing weight on a title fight, does that mean NEF should strip him of it? I honestly don't know. I haven't thought about it like that, you know?
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. One thing's for certain, it's nice to see Josh back and actively competing. Big win right there. Let's move to Brandon Oldenburg and his fight against Bryant Wade. Geez, Dale Hart had a little bit of a rough night at the Aura nightclub, and that early stoppage, you know, really upset a lot of people. Bryant Wade landed a massive shot, dropped Brandon, but it seemed like as soon as he hit the ground, boom, he was right back up. So I know that's got to be frustrating for your whole team. Just what was your initial thoughts? And I know you were inside of the cage talking with Dale Hart afterwards. What was he telling you?
Let me just start out by saying, like, I know that refereeing is a super hard job. I've done it. I made a post today saying that you know, I've refereed over 300 matches between MMA and Muay Thai. I hold a bunch of certifications for it, ABC included. It's not an easy job. I do not envy the pressure that referees have to have on them. And I certainly don't envy the split second decisions that they have to make that only in hindsight can people say that they screwed up. You know what I mean? Like that, it's a tough deal. And I also know that Dale is a qualified human being. He's got a lot of fight experience and he wants to do a good job. I believe that. I believe that he made a mistake in this fight. You know, they circled a little bit, nothing really happened. Our opponent, you know, was dancing quite a bit, so nothing was really happening. It was pretty much the first strike of the fight. And it was a big looping left hand that if you can watch it, it basically the wrist kind of hit near the ear / you know, back of that, not the back of the head. I don't want to make it sound like that, but you know, that area. And Brandon was taken off balance. He definitely got clipped. I personally think he got hit pretty good, but I personally think it was more of an off balancing thing. And he went down on his butt and jumped right back up with his hands up by his face. I think what happened was, I think the referee saw a guy hit the ground, immediately started charging in to stop. And you know, Brandon was up before the referee even got into the center. And I think the referee maybe wasn't able to like switch course while he was on his way in, you know what I mean? And so it stopped. Obviously yelled from the side, "You got to be kidding me!" The crowd booed, obviously. When I got up into the cage, it's over. Like I'm not going to make a scene. That's not what we're there for. I'm certainly not going to try to detract from our own opponents. They didn't do anything wrong. They came to fight. So, you know, when I got up into the cage, Dale came over and started, you know, telling me why he was right, even though I hadn't said he was wrong. And, you know, I just said, I know Dale. So I just said to him, I was like, "Look, bud, I think you're wrong, but I'm not going to argue with you about it in the cage. You know, what are you going to do? Take it back and start the fight over? It's not going to happen. It's already over." So, you know, that was that. Is what it's like, you know, our opponent's corner and our opponent were kind of like, you know, cheering a little bit, not, you know, like, "Hey, that seemed like it might have been a little quick." And, you know, I was like, "Yeah, might have been, but, you know, congratulations. You came to fight. You did what you were supposed to do. You know, it's not their fault at all. You know, I did ask Matt Peterson if at all possible, and I asked the other team, like, hey, if you guys could see your way to it, we wouldn't mind to rematch. Let us know.
How's Brandon doing afterwards? Like, what was his mindset right after the fight?
He's disappointed, you know. It's one thing if you get, 8-10 fights and something like that happens. You know, it still sucks, but at least like you kind of seen it happen, and you know that stuff can happen. It was Brandon's first fight. He was scheduled for the last did his whole camp, cut his weight, got to the weigh-ins. The other guy weighed in, and then the day of the show, the other guy backed out like a coward. Said he had a stomach ache. And then you know, he went right back into camp, put a whole nother camp in, got matched up for this show, got in, and you see what happened. That's pretty disappointing. He's a pretty stoic fella anyways, but you know, he's a little extra quiet, and you know, he kept apologizing to me, saying he was sorry that he disappointed. And I just told him there's zero reason for that. He didn't do anything wrong. But you know, it's tough for the fighter. It's tough as a coach, because you see these, you know, guys and girls that are fighting, and they put a ton of work in, and they deserve. I understand that people make mistakes, but they deserve to be allowed to perform, you know?
Sure.
I also understand that what's allowed for a pro fight is very different than what's allowed for an amateur fight. I've refereed both pro and amateur fights. That being said, it was a premature stoppage, and then that's unfortunate, because, you know, it's considered a loss, and my guy's got to wear that now, you know, which sucks.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, I'd be all for an immediate rematch if both guys wanted to do it. I think the fans would probably like to see that too, so we can get a legitimate finish to that matchup between Oldenburg and Wade. Let's move to Randall Hathorn. Round 2 TKO loss to Tyler Parent. I mean, geez, I thought he was looking pretty good in the first round too. What can you point towards as to what happened there where he suffered that L?
You know, here's the thing. So Randall right now is he had 2 fights before he came to me. One fight was about 8 seconds. He got hit. The referee jumped in. It was a quick stoppage. I watched the video on it. The next fight was about 12 seconds. He walked across the ring. They both threw punches. The other guy fell back, and the referee stopped it. So when Randall first came to me, I said, okay, you're 1-1. Tell me about it. And he said, I got to be honest. I think my loss was a quick stop. And I also think my win was a quick stop. You know, he was honest with me when he came in. And, so his grand total of ring experience with 2 fights was under 30 seconds. So put camps in and, got this fight. I thought he was looking pretty good. There's obviously, you know, things we need to work out. His head movement was pretty good, getting out of the way of things. I feel like, you know, I'm a big believer in, you can't just make people miss. You have to make them miss and then make them pay because they missed. He was doing a really good job of making the other guy miss, not a very good job of making him pay after he missed. So that's something we need to work on. He was landing some good leg kicks. I would have liked to have seen him continue to land those leg kicks. And that's just kind of, you know, stuff that comes with experience. It's one thing to have your coach tell you what you should do, and you're able to listen and do it and implement that, right? There's another thing that, you know, where you evaluate what you're doing, you know, and I'd said to him, I was like, you know, your biggest mistake was only not understanding the good things that you did. He landed some good jabs, and his mind should have said, oh, I landed these good jabs. And he's capable of fighting kind of both ways. His brain should have said, oh, I've landed some good jabs. I should keep landing those jabs. I should find other ways to set up landing that jab rather than even just jabbing. He landed some good leg kicks. His brain should say, oh, I'm landing a good leg kick. I should keep going to that. I should find other ways to set that up. And again, that's just, you know, my brain is able to do that, but I've had 60 fights in my life. You know, the world doesn't move very fast for me when it's fight time. Things slow down. And when you've only ever fought for a grand total of 30 seconds or not at all, potentially, or even a few fights, that's not a ton of experience in the grand scheme. And it's hard to slow those things down and evaluate and make those decisions, so that's just what we need to work towards with him. I think he's a really talented kid. He's got the work ethic. He hits really hard for his size. So, we just need to work on that stuff.
Well, definitely excited to see him back in the NEF cage and hopefully soon. Another guy I have to ask about, tall fella. He looks fairly familiar in the cage after Josh's win. I think his name is Ryan Saunders. Sanders. Ryan Sanders.
Yeah, that's Sanders.
It. Right there. Okay.
Been around a little bit. Yeah. So Ryan and Josh have known each other for a long time. And I've known Ryan for quite a while as well. I've always been, a Ryan Sanders fan. You and I have talked about that before. I think he's a super dangerous fighter that got managed. If you look at him, he's got he could have 10 wins against studs and 10 losses against studs. Man, I was talking to him the other day. I think he fought Marcus Davis in his 5th pro fight. Marcus Davis had just gotten out of the UFC and he beat him. That's how good he is. But what do you do from there, right? So he's been at the gym. He had come in, got a couple workouts in. I think we were kind of feeling each other out, and we got talking, and he wanted to be on the team, and quite frankly, I wanted him on the team. And he's just a guy to have at the gym as well. His attitude is really good. He's a good joker, and he's not nearly as handsome as he thinks he is, but he does work hard in the gym, and that's what matters. We're looking to hopefully get him on the next NEF if we can.
Okay, very good. Well, you just answered my next question. How many of the Vision Quest Muay Thai fighters can we expect to see on the next NEF? Is it going to be a full stacked card of all your fighters?
Right now, I've got Tim Murray, who fought 2 shows ago on the NEF, finished his fight with low kicks. He should be on that show. Talking about getting Josh on that show. Ryan Sanders on that show. If we can get a rematch for Brandon, that'd be good. I haven't seen Randall. I give the guys a couple of days off after the fights, so I haven't seen him or had a chance to really sit down and talk. We'll see if he wants on and if he feels ready. And I've got a couple other guys, up and comers, amateurs, 0 fights, that might be ready too. I mean, I'm one of those guys that, I don't push people into fighting. I don't want them to fight too soon. But if I've got a roster of 10 guys that are ready to go, then I'm going to give a 10-guy roster to Matt Peterson. And if we're one whole side of the card, then I'll wrap 20 hands that night and we'll get at it.
Well, I cannot wait to see the next NEF card. Obviously, it'll be back at the Ora Nightclub in Portland, Maine. We're looking at Super Bowl weekend. January 12th, I believe, is the next NEF event. Primo, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, my man. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your day today out of the tree stand to talk about this NEF 45 event. Before I let you go, man, I'll give you the floor. Tell people where to follow you on social media. Tell people where to find your gym. Anyone to thank? The floor is yours.
Yeah, man, it's really easy. Primo Bellarosa on Facebook and Instagram. Vision Quest Muay Thai on the same. Just thanks to everybody for the support. I'm really, we've said this before, I'm really happy to be settled in Maine and have a gym in Maine and have a team and have students that are coming and training. So, it's really just kind of off to the races from there. Just thanks to everybody for the support. Thanks to, my students and my fighters. Everybody really just has a good work ethic and a good mentality coming in. And I appreciate that. I really enjoy being in the gym and I really enjoy being here.